So, Duchess is quite a unique character and can be played in many ways. Usually she's a hybrid spellsword, but from there you can go to the extremes of being either melee or magic focused. As a fellow magic enjoyer since previous Souls games, I love playing Duchess as a caster the most. Today, I want to show you a run where I get to use not just one or two spells, but lots of different sorceries, and it turned out super satisfying. My build for this run was pretty much generic. The only specification I've had was the improved invisibility sorcery on one of the relics, and still it's not something that I was going to center my game around. And this build being generic is actually the best part about it. I'm not bound to a specific school of magic or anything else. Every spell that I find in my way will benefit from multiple magic attack power-ups that I have. Yes, this setup will give me less raw numbers than triple improved crystallian sorceries, but versatility is something very important in Nightreign, and something that I've grown to respect and account for. The runs and the builds are so much more fun whenever you're not bound to anything, be it a certain magic school or even your starting weapon. Outside of the magic power-ups, I have one character skill cooldown reduction to make even better use of restages, and this guaranteed green relic with all the stuff to eliminate FP problems as much as possible. I love using the variety of spells, but a lot of them are very FP inefficient, especially the heavier ones. With something like Carrion Slicer, you can forget about FP problems for the rest of the game, but not with the Moons or Stars of Ruin and so on. This is one of my favorite relic setups for Duchess. It is very well rounded, and the only thing that I miss in it is the defeating enemies while art is active ups attack power. This is a crazy good and often overlooked relic effect for Duchess that allows you to just skyrocket your attack power. I think I'm gonna do a video about it too. I am somewhat used to it, to the point that in this run there will be a moment where I was convinced that I had this thing on, even though I didn't. Now, back to the run. I had a really great spawn in the bottom side of the map. The closest point of interest to me is a magical fort, probably the best I could have asked for. This means I have an immediate access to staffs to cast magic. The sooner you get access to sorceries as Duchess, the sooner you get out of early game hell, even if you're not playing a magic-oriented build. Furthermore, on the way out I'll grab a Stone Sword key to hit the closest southern jail and hopefully get even more levels. From there it is convenient to kill a field boss next to the spirit tree and traverse through the mine in the direction of the river, or use a tree to fly north. We'll see. That's the plan I have in mind for the start of the game. Gutskin Noble or any tier 2 or purple rarity boss or whatever's the right way to call them are actually the best possible jail rolls early on. They might be slightly chunkier than someone like maybe Bloodhound Knight, but they give you a whole 20,000 runes on top of the runes they drop you for dying, and their fights are very consistent. Compare it to something like Crystallians, Beastmen of Farum Azula, Misbegottens, Banished Knights, all this regular stuff you get in the jails. With Gutskins and Crucible Knights, you get a better, less RNG fight with an even better reward. This is what I talked about in the beginning. I was 100% sure I had the power attack up for killing stuff in Alt thing. It's why I used my art here, in hoping to stack my buffs on the smaller flowers. From here I could take both ways, either left through the mines to the river, or top on the spectral tree to the woods with a jail and a boss. I don't have a spare key and honestly a reason to mindlessly fight at this point, so I chose to go left, get a smithing stone and check what's at the river. Unfortunately for me, the boss at the river turned out to be Loretta, who not only can do a true combo on me, but also is quite resistant to magic. It would be a big risk and honestly a waste of time to fight her at this point. So I decided to move somewhere else instead. To be specific, to check out what's at the middle castle. It will be tough there too, but if the RNG with the basement boss is at least somewhat kind to me, then I can definitely try to take on it. Glintstone Chris is an excellent pick for Duchess, especially in a magic-oriented build, and especially with the successive attacks negate damage passive that came with it in this instance. Now that I feel slightly more confident, I can afford to at least check who's the boss at the top of the castle, and hopefully snowball our advantage even further. You don't see very often Renala's full moon on a staff that is not carrying Regal Scepter, but well, if you see one, take it without questions. Not only Renala's full moon is a flying nuke and looks gorgeous, its most important part in my opinion is that it also lowers the magic resistance of your enemy if it hits them. So it should be obvious how much of a power spike finding this specific sorcery really is. The staff also came with Stars of Ruin, so now we're officially entering the higher tiers of sorcery. One more pleasant bonus is that it is now my third staff in the inventory and it procs a relic buff to increase max HP. Amazing day 1, great drops and a decent level. I knew it would be a good run. Even though I got these terrible rewards from the Nightreign boss, I am already extremely strong, and I want to put that to use and get to fighting formidable bosses. starting with Loretta, who is very close to me now. I've said many times in my previous videos that whenever you don't have a shifting oath, your day 2 is pretty much always a boss rush. I may want to look for Sorceress Rises too though, because they will increase my FP even further. Just when I thought that this couldn't get any better, the game slaps me with Carrion Regal Scepter itself. Both the Staff and Reduvia are crazy drops for Duchess, probably best in slot for their type. But since my playstyle for this run is magic oriented, the choice is obvious. Not only I now get a better Full Moon, cause this staff will deal more damage, but also Loretta's Mastery, which is not always practical, but still cracked, you'll see, and a charged sorcery buff. Delicious. What can I say? I bless all of you guys with these kinds of drops for your next runs. The castle is cleared and the closest formidable boss is in the woods to the east, so now I'll have to do an awkward detour. Might as well grab a flask charge since it's on the way. While I was blasting that poor Blackblade Kindred, I got this Nostr invasion, and it honestly was very weird for some reason. It spawned on the other side of the map, and it's now gonna take me forever to get there. I'm just gonna speed up this part because there's a whole lot of nothing going on for like 3 minutes, except for running and disappointment. I have no idea what this guy's problem was. Gets summoned in the middle of nowhere, steals my level, makes me run up to him for 5 business days, then flies away the second I touch him and refuses to elaborate further. Well, now that I'm back here, let's run up the river and see what I can find there, I guess. Now, as the final preparation for Libra, I want to make sure that I never run out of FP, and it currently is somewhat of a problem. So now I'm gonna hit a local merchant and a Sorcerer's Rise to get the Starlight Shards for myself. As much as I'd love to grab a Magic Shroud in Cracked Tier, Staff of Loss with Night Comet is a little too convenient of a drop for this Everdark boss. I have a whole video about this specific spell and strategy, but long story short, Night Comet belongs to Invisibility Sorcery, and its gimmick is that enemies don't react to these spells when you cast them. In other words, NPCs won't try to dodge Night Comet, and it basically is a guaranteed hit on whoever Libra summons. Another small thing is that I have an unused Smith & Stone 2 line in my inventory waiting to be useful, and so I decided that my spellbook needs another addition. I don't really have a plan for Libra. I'm just gonna improvise for the most part and try to use as many spells as I can, just because it's beautiful and proved to be quite effective, to be honest. Only thing to remember is to hit NPCs with Night Comet, because they will not try to dodge it. I can't express how much I love magic in Elden Ring, and how happy I am that it actually is cracked. Also, apparently, it's possible to no-hit Everdark Libra. I hope you like this run, please like, subscribe and write a comment, all these things help my channel grow very much. GG and thank you for watching.